At the beginning of the story, a fisherman is seen fishing in the river, but suddenly the weather starts to turn bad. Everything begins to get dark, and the water starts producing strong, coral-like waves. After a while, a strange and mysterious box is seen floating toward the fisherman's boat. The fisherman notices the box and brings it onto his boat. When he opens the box, he finds a dead woman and her little child inside. Surprisingly, the child is still alive. The fisherman is deeply moved to see the child. He takes the child in his arms, thinking of him as his own son, and names him Perseus. Many years pass after that. Over all these years, Perseus grows up quite a bit. He now knows that fisherman as his father and the fisherman's wife as his mother. One day, they are traveling by boat to another place to catch fish. Suddenly, they reach a spot where some people are seen throwing a huge statue into the river, and that statue is of Zeus. Those people had started considering themselves equal to God. As soon as the statue is thrown into the sea, a strange light appears in the water. It begins to form something, and suddenly some wild creatures emerge from it. They start attacking the people who had insulted the statue of Zeus. In the meantime, all those wild creatures begin to merge together, and soon they take the form of a man. This man is none other than Zeus's brother, Hades, the god of the underworld. Then Hades attacks the fisherman's boat. The small boat breaks apart and sinks. Everyone dies there, but fortunately, Perseus survives the terrible accident. After losing his entire family, Perseus is completely devastated. But then he promises himself that he will definitely take revenge on Hades for his family's death. In the next scene, Hades and Zeus are seen together. Hades comes to Zeus and says that the duty of humans is to worship them, but instead of doing that, humans are committing acts of defiance. They have betrayed the gods. In fact, Zeus always wanted humans to fear him and worship him. That is why Zeus had built temples and statues to maintain his power. But the humans destroyed his temple and threw his statue into the sea. Hades then tells Zeus that if he allows it, he will create fear in the hearts of humans so that they will begin to worship Zeus again. But Zeus always wanted humans to do this peacefully. However, since he has no other choice now, he allows Hades to proceed. Here, the scene shifts again. The soldiers who had broken the statue of Zeus are shown. They take Perseus to a magnificent palace. When Perseus arrives there, he sees the king and queen of the palace celebrating their victory after destroying Zeus's statue. Everyone there is happily saying that they have succeeded in breaking the statue of Zeus and that now they have won. They claim this proves that nothing is more powerful than humans. But suddenly, the princess arrives and tells everyone that what they have done is not right and that they should not celebrate such an act. However, the queen tells the princess that she knows nothing about Zeus. At that very moment, the god of the underworld, Hades, appears there. As soon as he arrives, the atmosphere of the place changes completely, and everyone present becomes terrified. Hades then killed all the king's soldiers with his immense power. Seeing this, Perseus became very angry because this Hades was the one who had killed his father and his entire family. So Perseus was about to attack him right there. At that moment, a mysterious girl appeared from nowhere and stopped him. She told him that the time for this was not yet right, he must wait until the right moment came. Meanwhile, Hades approached the queen and said that even though she was quite old, she still looked as beautiful as a young woman. Saying this, Hades absorbed all the magical energy that was within the queen. Then Hades announced to everyone that 10 days from now, there would be a solar eclipse, and on that day, he would send a monster named Kraken to their city. The Kraken would bring death and destruction to all of them. But he also said there was one way to survive, and that was through the sacrifice of the princess. Only the sacrifice of the princess could save the entire city. After saying this, Hades turned to leave. But before going, he looked at Perseus and said that Perseus was a descendant of Zeus. Hearing this, Perseus was shocked, and so was everyone else. After hearing that, the people there locked Perseus inside a closed room. But after a while, the mysterious girl came to meet him, the same one who had stopped him earlier from fighting Hades. The girl introduced herself as Io. She told Perseus, "Do you want to know your true identity? Do you want to know how you were born? And what will you do if you are part of the Creator?" Saying this, Io began to tell him about events from the past. Many years ago, there was a great king who ruled a kingdom built high upon the mountains. The queen of that king was incredibly beautiful. One day, the queen was sitting alone in her room when the king came to know that his wife was secretly meeting a stranger. Hearing this news, the king rushed into the palace angrily with his soldiers. To his shock, he found Zeus there, which meant that Zeus was having an illicit relationship with his wife. Seeing the king, Zeus immediately fled from there. A few months later, the queen gave birth to a son, but the king discovered that the child was not his, it was Zeus's son. Knowing this, the king became furious. He locked his wife and the newborn child inside a wooden box and threw it into the sea. But at that moment, a bolt of lightning struck, and the king died instantly. Io then said to Perseus, "That means you are half human and half god, a descendant of Lord Zeus." She also told him that that it was she who had guided that box safely to the fisherman who found him. At that time, I had the same appearance I have now, she said, because I can never die, and that is the greatest truth of my life. On the other hand, the king was seen to be deeply worried about Princess Andromeda. He never wanted to lose his daughter like that. That is why he decided to free Zeus's son, Perseus, and send him along with his strongest soldiers to slay the monster called Kraken. The next day, Perseus and his group were seen preparing for their journey. Meanwhile, it was revealed that the king was still alive. But on that day long ago, the lightning that struck them had burned the king case badly. Now his face had become completely deformed and terrifying, and his name was now Acrisius. Then Hades came to meet Acrisius. He told him that the time had now come that he could finally take his revenge on Zeus and Perseus. Saying this, Hades opened his mouth and transferred a great amount of his dark power into Acrisius. Then Hades said, "Bring me the body of Perseus, and if you do this, I will give you the body of Zeus in return." On the other hand, Perseus was seen traveling with the king's army. They were all on their way to fight and kill the monstrous creature. On the way, a soldier named Draco teaches Perseus how to use swords. Soon after, Perseus finds a sword in the forest, a sword that Zeus himself had sent for him. But Perseus, not knowing this, throws it away and gives it to Draco. After that, Io arrives there and shows Perseus many winged horses. She also tells him that Zeus has sent these horses for him, but no one has ever ridden these horses before. Still, Perseus refuses to take them and says, "My father is not Zeus. I am the son of that old fisherman." Just then, Acrisius appears there and attacks Perseus, and a terrible battle begins between the two. During the fight, Acrisius bites Perseus's hand and injures him badly. Seeing this, the soldiers rush to help Perseus, and they all start fighting against Acrisius. At one point in the battle, Acrisius almost kills Perseus, but just in time, Draco comes forward and cuts off Acrisius's hand with that same sword. Unable to find any other way, Acrisius flees from there. However, his severed hand remains on the ground, and gradually, it begins to take the shape of a serpent. From the places where Acrisius's blood falls, huge serpents start to emerge. Perseus and the soldiers try to fight these giant serpents, but they are so strong that no one can withstand them for long. At that moment, Io arrives and cuts off one serpent's head, but since there are too many of them, they quickly surround Perseus and the soldiers. Then suddenly, a group of strangers appears, and their leader uses his power to control those serpents. The goal of this group is to capture the monster. On the other hand, Perseus's condition begins to worsen because of the poison from Acrisius's bite. The venom starts spreading from his hand throughout his body, and Perseus screams in unbearable pain. But then the leader of that group comes forward and heals Perseus with his powers. He tells Perseus, "I will stand by your side in this war, because I also want the monster to be destroyed. But to do that," he adds, "they first need to go to the three witches, because the secret to killing that monster lies with them." Then both groups set out together toward the witches' lair. Soon, they reach the witches' camp. When they arrive, they are astonished, because the witches are 3 in number but share only one eye among them, and they pass that single eye from one to another by hand as they move around. Perseus approaches them and asks about the monster, but the witches refuse to tell him anything. Instead, they deceive everyone and attack them. During the fight, Perseus manages to snatch the single eye from their hands. He then threatens them, saying, "If you don't reveal the secret of the monster's death, I will crush your eye right here in my hand." Hearing this, the witches became frightened because they didn't want to lose their only eye, so they were forced to reveal how to kill the monster. They said that to kill the monster Kraken, you need one special thing, the head of the goddess Medusa. But even if you manage to get it, killing Kraken will not be easy, and we can say for sure that you will fail. This is our prophecy, you will surely die at the hands of Kraken. But Perseus is not shaken by their words. He continues his journey to find and kill Kraken along with his companions. On the way, he meets Zeus, who has come down to Earth only to meet him. Zeus tells Perseus, "You should have accepted the gifts I sent. No matter what, I am your father and you are my son." But Perseus firmly replies, "I am not your son. My father was a fisherman, and I am his son." After hearing all this, Zeus gives Perseus a golden coin and leaves. 2 days and 2 nights pass, and finally, they reach the temple of Medusa. But to enter that temple, they must cross a mysterious river. Then the leader of the jinns takes the golden coin from Perseus's hand and throws it into the river. Immediately, a boat rises up from the water. Using that boat, they set off toward the temple. Meanwhile, Io and Perseus go into the cabin of the boat and begin planning. Io tells him that no woman can enter Medusa's temple. She warns Perseus, "When you go there, whatever you do not look into Medusa's eyes. If you do, you'll instantly turn into stone." As soon as they enter the temple, Medusa attacks them. Her body is half snake and half human, and countless serpents are wrapped around her head, making her look horrifying. During the fight, Medusa starts throwing Perseus and the jinns into a deep pit. However, Perseus somehow saves himself and the jinn leader by driving his sword into the wall to stop their fall. Meanwhile, Medusa turns the rest of Perseus's companions into stone. Then Perseus faces her directly. Using the reflection of Medusa in his sword, he bravely swings his weapon and cuts off her head. head. Perseus then comes out of the temple holding Medusa's severed head. But before he can tell anyone about it, Acrisius appears there and kills Io on the spot. Seeing this, Perseus is heartbroken because he had fallen in love with her. Filled with rage, Perseus starts fighting Acrisius. But during the fight, Acrisius overpowers him. So Perseus quickly grabs the sword that Zeus had given him and kills Acrisius with it. After Acrisius's death, the winged horse Pegasus appears there, and Perseus mounts it. He then sets off to rescue the princess. Meanwhile, Hades is seen gaining more power by feeding on people's fear. He now sends the Kraken to the city to destroy everything. When Zeus learns about this, he realizes that Hades has deceived him, and a fight breaks out between them. But when Hades discovers that Perseus is still alive, he sets out to kill him. On the other hand, the people of the city are terrified as the Kraken rushes toward them with great speed. In desperation, they bring the princess forward to sacrifice her in order to save themselves. Perseus, meanwhile, is on his way with Medusa's head to stop the monster. But before he can reach, some flying beasts appear, snatch Medusa's head from him, and fly away. Meanwhile, the monster had started destroying the entire city, and everyone began running in fear to save their lives. But then it was seen that the beasts of Hades deliberately carried Perseus toward the Kraken, hoping the monster would finish him off completely. But Perseus was clever. To save himself, he managed to recover Medusa's severed head. Meanwhile, the people had tied up the princess as a sacrifice to the monster, and the Kraken also appeared there to devour her. But just then, Perseus arrived at the scene. He quickly pulled out Medusa's severed head and held it up before the Kraken. The moment the Kraken looked into Medusa's eyes, its massive body began to harden and crumble into stone. After seeing all this, Hades himself appeared and moved forward to kill Perseus. But Perseus summoned lightning through the sword that Zeus had given him and hurled it at Hades. Hades was badly injured and retreated, disappearing into the depths of the river. However, the princess also fell into the river during the chaos. Seeing this, Perseus immediately jumped in after her and tried to save her. A while later, Perseus and the princess were seen lying unconscious on the riverbank. Soon, Io's spirit appeared there and revived them both. The princess then thanked Perseus and, deeply impressed by his courage, proposed that he stay and become the king of their land and make her his queen. But Perseus politely refused. He said, "I have to go to Zeus." Then he wished the princess in advance, congratulating her on becoming a queen. Soon after, Perseus mounted the winged horse Pegasus and flew to meet Zeus. There, Zeus offered Perseus the chance to become a god, but Perseus refused once again, saying, "I wish to live my life as a simple fisherman." Then Zeus told Perseus that Hades was not dead, yet he was only injured and hiding beneath the water. He is now waiting for the day when humans will once again stop worshipping their creator, said Zeus. When that happens, he will regain his power. But Zeus reminded Perseus that he now possessed the magical sword and the winged horse Pegasus for protection. "I want to give you something else now," Zeus said, and then disappeared. Immediately after, the people who had died were brought back to life through Zeus's divine power. Everyone rejoiced to see each other alive again. And with that, this magnificent story comes to an end. Thanks for watching this recap. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to comment below and tell me what movie or series you want me to recap next. I will.